A prominent American lawyer, Alex Murdaugh, has been found guilty of killing his wife and son. A South Carolina jury has deliberated for 3 hours before delivering its verdict in the grisly and very complex case. Now, this case has been plagued with a long history of suspicious incidents, consequently gripping global attention for nearly about 2 years now. The 12-person jury declared the 54-year-old Alex Murdaugh to be guilty on 2 counts of murdering his wife Maggie and also their youngest son Paul, who were executed at close range with a shotgun near the dog kennels on their family estate on the evening of the 7th of June 2021.
In the term of 2022, July, the State versus Richard Alexander Murdaugh, defendant, indictment for murder, SC Code 16-3-0010, CDR Code 0116. Okay. Guilty verdict.
Murdaugh, however, had pleaded not guilty. He went on to later admit in the court that he initially had lied about his alibi. He also confessed to an array of financial crimes as well, which have dented his credibility with the jury. With the guilty verdict, Murdaugh now faces a minimum of 30 years in prison, or perhaps a life in prison upon sentencing for each count.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, after His Honor charges you, you're going to go back there and exercise your greatest power. Based on the evidence you've heard, the evidence you haven't heard, the credibility, the believability of the witnesses, and especially of Richard Alexander Murdaugh, who has lied and lied and lied and lied, and it's been okay. He got you through. It stops here.
Now, throughout the trial, prosecutors in fact tried to portray Murdaugh as a serial liar and had argued that only he had the means and the opportunity to have committed the murders of his wife and his child. The prosecutors also said that he had gunned down his wife and his son to distract people from his financial crimes, including the theft of millions of dollars from his law partners and clients, money that he used to feed a years-long addiction of opioids and also support his very expensive lifestyle.
On June 7th, 2021, at the Moselle property in Colleton County, Maggie Murdaugh and Paul Murdaugh were brutally and maliciously murdered at the kennels by Alex Murdaugh. Paul, as you know, suffered 2 shotgun blasts. Maggie suffered 5 blackout rifle wounds. And after an exhaustive investigation, there is only one person who had the motive, who had the means, who had the opportunity to commit these crimes, and also whose guilty conduct after these crimes betrays him. The defendant was the one person who was living a lie. The defendant is the person on which a storm was descending, and the defendant is a person where his own storm would actually mean consequences for Maggie and Paul.
The Murdaugh's lawyers tried to argue that he was in fact a loving father and a husband, but just a troubled man. They also tried to criticize the investigators, saying that investigators had focused solely on him and had conducted the investigation so poorly that any evidence pointing to someone else, such as fingerprints or possible DNA on Maggie or Paul Murdaugh's clothing, was simply never gathered.
Which brings us to the question, why? Why would Alex Murdaugh on June 7th execute his son Paul and his wife Maggie, who he adored and loved? Why? The state's theory is that that it was a storm a-coming, clouds are arising, and that his financial house of cards is about to collapse and he's about to be exposed. And because of that, he does what every rational person would do: go kill your wife and son. That is their theory of motive.
More than 75 witnesses and nearly about 800 pieces of evidence were presented to the jurors during the 6-week trial. The jurors heard about betrayed friends and clients and Murdaugh's failed attempts to stage his own death in an insurance fraud scheme, a fatal boat crash in which his son was implicated, and about the housekeeper who died in a fall in Murdaugh's home. After which the jurors delivered their verdict. However, due to the lateness of the hour, the judge had deferred sentencing to a later date. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.